Are you taking the SAT soon and wondering how to approach the reading section? If so, in this video, I'm going to tackle some of my frequently asked questions that I get from students on what to do about the reading section. Before I get into that, I want to remind everybody we have the best ACT prep course ever and the best SAT prep course ever live on SupertutorTV.com. If you're looking for a way to up your score, these courses have over 100 hours of video content in them each. In this video, actually, we're going to borrow some clips from our SAT course so you can get a feel for the kind of information that I share, but we go way more in depth, especially in the reading section. It's available now, SupertutorTV.com. The other exciting news is that our ACT math books are dropping very soon on March 14th, 2019. So check them out. They're going to be on Amazon.com. If you want to know more about those books, you can check out our book trailer, which is going to launch very soon this week on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned for it. Our book trailer is coming. It's gonna be awesome. Be there, be square. Lots of fun stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks with these books releasing. So stay tuned to our channel. And finally, if you want to keep in touch with us, subscribe to our mailing list, SupertutorTV.com/subscribe. We will tell you when our books drop. We will tell you anything else exciting that we have going on here. We will remind you of our videos weekly or so-ish. We don't send tons of mail, just a little bit. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. We will probably be doing some book giveaways on Facebook and Instagram, but we will not necessarily be offering them to people just on YouTube. So if you want to keep your eyes peeled for giveaways, those are two places to follow us as well, Facebook and Instagram. So go check those out. Let's get started with this video. The first of our frequently asked questions I'm going to get to in this video is, do I need to read the passage first? My answer is usually yes, but there are a couple exceptions, okay? First, if you speak English as a second language and you can barely get through much of anything in a particular type of passage, i.e. you start reading a paragraph and you literally don't know what it means, or the only way that you can even figure out what it means is by reading and rereading and rereading like 4 times. If you ever have to reread to understand something, that's not really working for you. And it's probably better to go to the questions first, or to what I call handhold, meaning you like read a question and then you go back and you kind of look for the answer, read a couple paragraphs, and then you answer that question, and then you go to the next question, and then you read it forward a little bit more, and you hold hands with the passage kind of as you go, and you read and sort of do some questions as you go. That's another technique that you can use. Then next we have, if you're scoring below a 550 or so and can't make it through the test on time. So if you're scoring below, say like a 550 and you really have timing issues, not reading the passages is one strategy that you might use either throughout the whole test or selectively in order to be able to speed up and get through everything. You will inevitably not be able to get every question right if you don't read the passage, but you can get a lot of questions right if you don't read the passage, or if you start with the questions and then go back and try to find evidence. The biggest danger that I find when people don't read the passage first is that as they start to read the questions first, it ends up being the scavenger hunt for many questions in which nobody knows where to go. So if you are going to try to do this and you're in this category, right? Sometimes what I like to do is look for any questions with like evidence questions where you know the lines, right? Or any questions that have lines in them whatsoever. And those sometimes can be an okay place to start because you at least know where to kind of start and do your sort of main idea last if you are going out of order, okay? Third thing, if you have no time left to read. Now this goes for everybody. What I mean by this, if you have literally no time left to read, i.e. you approach a passage and you have less than 5 minutes, okay? Then no, you should not be reading the whole thing. Or anytime you have I would say even under 10 minutes, you should not be reading every word at least. Maybe you're skimming at this point if you have under 10. Generally, the pacing for this test is that you have 13 minutes per passage to finish the passage and all the questions. So my point to you guys is if you have significantly under 10 minutes left and you've got a passage, trying to read the whole thing is crazy. And even for a lot of you, if you have under 13 minutes left, it might be hard for you to read it completely, the whole thing. I still would recommend you probably skim if you have anywhere between 10 and 13 minutes left and you're on the last passage. But again, I would still try to approach the passage first so you know where you're going and so you can kind of hone in on main idea, tone, and sort of these really fundamental elements that are going to inform all your answer choices. Okay, 4, your pacing strategy involves deep focus on several passages and going double speed on the last one or two. So sometimes I have students who really can't finish the SAT on time. And if that's the case, sometimes their strategy of getting the most points involves focusing on just a few passages to really nail and get everything right on, because if they don't, they won't get anything right anywhere. And then leaving a couple to chance that they're not going to try as hard on. And they find that that's how they best optimize their score. There's a lot of different ways to approach the passages. There's a lot of different ways to strategize. And you have to figure out what strategy works for you. So my point is, read first most of the time, but I also really encourage you guys to be nimble. And what I mean by being nimble is you need to be a problem solver. When you know there's a problem with what you're doing, and a problem occurs anytime you're spending time on an activity and you're not downloading any information, if that ever occurs, it's a good idea to try to fix it or try to get in there and do what you can to pick up the pieces and hold it together. And that's my best advice on this test. Be nimble. Don't assume that there's only one way to approach everything. Okay, guys, next FAQ. Can I skim? Yes, but. Here's my answer. Yes, you can skim, but. 1, be careful you know the map and main idea of each paragraph when possible. So if you're skimming, your goal is map that passage, know the main idea of each paragraph. And yes, I know some tutors say get it from the topic sentences or just read the topic sentences, but I'm going to tell you right now, topic sentences will sometimes fail you. Topic sentences do not always have the main idea of the paragraph in them. Sometimes the last sentence does, sometimes the middle sentence does. And it's important if you're skimming to know when your topic sentence has basically given you a bunch of fluff or hasn't really given you the real deal. So when you skim, try to look at that, but look at the other words dancing around the paragraph. Do you see flags, right, that are important flags, words like but or however? Contrast signals, remember, this is a good tip, guys. Contrast signals, if you're skimming, often say, hey, this is super important. So if you are skimming, I want you to look for things like contrast signals. I want you to look for transitional words. Those usually come right before some of the most important information you're going to find anywhere in the passage. So look for these kind of cues if you're skimming. Be careful with narrative fiction and humanities passages when you're skimming. They tend to have surprises or little places in which a few words are more critical. So these are the hardest kinds of passages to skim. And by humanities, what I mean is sometimes those are biographies or personal stories or something like that. Narrative fiction, I think, is one of the most dangerous kind of areas where you have landmines. You generally don't get these kind of landmines when you have social science passages or science passages, because those passages are more straightforward, right? They're presenting nonfiction information. It's like, here's the experiment we're doing. Here's the stuff we did in that experiment. Here are the results, okay? There's nothing that's like super out of the ordinary there. Anything that's an easier read is usually an easier skim, but harder reads may be okay skims if you can't understand them on your first read anyhow. Science is sometimes one of the best skims, even if it's really hard, because they're more predictable. But really easy social science stuff tends to be easier to skim because you can just move through it faster. So there you go. The last question that I get from students is, if I'm doing a passage, should I take notes? So when should you take notes, or how should you take notes, at least according to my personal recommendations? 1, always feel free to circle, underline, or highlight really important ideas. Don't over-underline, don't over-highlight. If like half your page is underlining, it's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. Just focus on main idea of the paragraphs, okay? 2, if you've digested something that's a little bit complex, feel free to write down symbols or some sort of shorthand so that you remember what it is that you mentally digested. Anytime you unpack something that's kind of hard or kind of difficult, make sure you don't lose that piece you've unpacked. And that's a great time to write things down. Most of the time when I'm unpacking, I'm actually on the question section already. So I'm still making those notes as I go, and those notes might come in handy on a further question. I'm never sure. But sometimes I can do that while I read the first time as well. You can see here I did this, right? If I increase the number of wolves in the park, then that lowers the number of berry eaters, who they eat, because they're predators of these berry eaters that compete with bears. And so then there's more berry eating bears. So you can see how I have these kind of random arrows, and these might be hard for you to understand, but this is me interpreting a part of this passage where they're talking about the effect that wolves have on the things that they're predators of, and then the fact that those things that they're predators of compete with bears for berries, and like how many bears are getting berries in the park and all that kind of good stuff. And then finally, the other kind of note that I like to make is a summary or a passage map label of like the whole paragraph, 1 or 2 words max, especially if, again, I've digested anything. Anytime I feel like I've mentally digested something, I've mentally done some processing or work, I don't want to lose that processing power. So I want to put that down, I want to write it down, I want to fix it so that I don't lose it. Those are the best times to take notes. Again, don't overtake notes. Don't write in full crazy sentences. Don't underline too much, and you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. And then the other thing to remember is that just because you're going to take notes doesn't mean you only take them on the front half. Oftentimes the best time to take notes is when you're going back and you're punching through those details and digesting little pieces so that you can hold on to everything and really understand what's going on. I do definitely recommend using your pencil. Make sure you don't take too many notes, but let your notes work for you instead of against you, and they can be a helpful tool. I hope you guys liked this video. If so, please give it a thumbs up. And if you did, definitely check out the best SAT prep course ever. In this course, I give you tons of tips on how to approach the passages, as well as how to approach the questions, on all the little secrets that the test has locked up inside of it. I would love to share them with you guys. SupertutorTV.com. You can check it out there. You can also watch more videos. We have plenty more videos on the SAT here on our YouTube channel. And I will see you guys next time. Find us on Facebook, find us on Instagram, and I will see you guys next time. Ciao for now.